You're listening to The Midlife Shift with Alex Brooks. Juicy conversations to help you thrive after 50.
Welcome to The Midlife Shift. I'm Alex Brooks and we're about to have another juicy conversation. From the biggest loser to 12-week body transformations, Michelle Bridges has been transforming and helping people become healthier versions of themselves for decades. Welcome, Michelle. Now,
Thank you.
If you're looking for a girl to indulge in a choc chip cookie and maybe that third slice of cake, how are you on the friendship stakes with that?
Look, no judgment here. Knock yourselves out. But it's probably not my thing.
I know you really do live the dream, don't you?
Well, I don't deny myself. I'll still have chocolate or cake or ice cream or whatever, but it's just not on the regular.
Oh, so you're so good. Now, you've built an empire on sheer grit. Like, you're the motivational queen. But can you just tell us a little bit about this recent accident and what that's done for you?
Oh, look, I've had a wonderful holiday skiing and just had a little bit of a tumble. So I've injured my knee, which has set me back a little bit because I'm on crutches at the moment. And so, that just changes everything very quickly. When you're a single parent, you've got to still get your kid off to school and do the lunch boxes and make the beds and, general life stuff.
Correct.
But I'm just trying to stay positive about it. But the other great thing is that my son really has to step up now. He's got to do a lot more around the house. So I'm sure I can find some silver linings.
And how old is he now?
He's 9.
Oh, that's such a cute age. They're so delicious between 5 and 12.
Yeah.
It's the sweet spot, I reckon. Now, you're becoming a bit more of an expert in menopause now. Talk to me about menopause. Why menopause?
I found myself in a situation a couple of years ago where I couldn't put my finger on it, but things just didn't feel right. I had some strange things going on, like ringing in my ears at night, waking up at night and not being able to get back to sleep, maybe a little bit of anxiety, which I'd never had before. And then the next day, there's lack of sleep, and because I get hot at night.
Oh, I know that one.
And the lack of sleep.
Bits.
I was just excusing it away, like, oh, it's because of stress or it's because of work. And it's very easy to excuse a lot of these symptoms, particularly like the brain fog. Oh, that's because I didn't sleep well last night. And just didn't feel quite right. I was a bit flat. And so I went to my doctor where I was living currently down in the Southern Highlands and just explained some of these symptoms. We did all my bloods. Everything came back normal, except what didn't come back normal was my good cholesterol was sky high, which is great, but my bad cholesterol had risen and I hadn't changed anything in my diet. And also, and I know now that I've educated myself, that that's a marker for perimenopause. And I was also vitamin D deficient.
Oh, wow.
Not low, not moderate, but deficient through the floor.
Wow.
And that's another marker for perimenopause, but I didn't know that either. And the conversation of menopause didn't even turn up, and I didn't even know, this is a couple of years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, I didn't even know that perimenopause was a word or a thing.
Oh, really?
I'd never heard of it. So that was happening in the background for me, and I got to a point where, all right, I think I can do a menopause program. That's what everybody's been asking for. So when I started researching it, I found out there was a thing called perimenopause.
Yeah.
And then I started digging into that and going, that's me. I've just self-diagnosed myself. This is it, everything that tick, tick, tick. So I'm calling my team saying, oh my God, I am perimenopausal. And it was just so weird how it all kind of landed.
Because
and that's where I got a real passion for it, because what I realized very quickly was I'm not alone in that. There are a lot. It's changed now. Probably in the last 2 years, there's a much bigger conversation going on. But prior to that, nobody knew that something was going on, possibly in your late 30s, most certainly through your 40s.
Definitely.
Everyone's thinking, oh, that's going to happen when I'm in my 50s. No, ladies, it's not.
And it's a transition, right? People think menopause is this date you arrive at somehow and it's just boom, there, like you get a first period, but you don't get a first menopause. It's defined by 12 months without menstruating, which, that's a journey, right? That can take 5 to 8 years to arrive at that 12-month of no menstruation destination, right?
Of course. So menopause can, they say statistically, happen for a woman between 45 and 55. And menopause is one day.
That's right.
It's the one day that you mark the calendar. I have not had a period for 12 months. Now, I spoke to a fertility specialist yesterday, and she actually says 2 years.
Oh, okay.
Which is the first time I'd really heard of that. But ultimately, it's that, let's just say for now, it's the 12-month mark of having no period. However, perimenopause can start between, it's said, 7 to 10 years before that marker of the menopause. So that means, if you do the maths, that perimenopause can start as early as 35.
Yep.
The average age is around 42 to 45 for ladies. But what happens is that in that chaotic hormonal roller coaster of perimenopause, which from every specialist that I've interviewed, can often be the worst of these symptoms.
That's right.
Because it is so hormonal and because it is so chaotic, that a lot of women are going through it and they don't even know that they are.
That's right. And what would you say the worst symptom was for you?
For me, it was the lack of sleep. It was the sleep disturbance.
Did you not get that when you had a child?
Yeah, I remember it very vividly.
Yeah, it's awful.
I remember so clearly how hard that was. And we were back there again, or I was back there again, and I just couldn't figure out why every night I was waking up. Some nights I'd be bathed in sweats. I wouldn't call it a hot flash as such, because I've had those described to me, and I never think I've really had one of them.
Okay.
But I think that's a very common symptom that you hear about, but it's actually not in even the top 5 of the most common symptoms. The most common symptoms you hear about is brain fog and sleep disturbances.
That's right.
And mood swings.
Yeah, and what about hormone replacement therapy? What role do you think that should play for women today?
Well, that's a really big can of worms.
I know.
It's a big topic of discussion.
Massive.
And I won't go too far down the rabbit hole, but back in 2002, there was a World Health Organization study done. You may have heard about it in the States. There were many, many, many people across it as far as specialists who were doing all the testing. And it was a very strange turn of events where a handful of them broke away and made a public announcement to the world, and the media picked it up and it went everywhere, that it causes breast cancer. Yeah. Now, that has all been walked back.
That's exactly
and
right.
debunked.
Yeah.
But what it did do is it meant that there was probably 2, possibly 3 generations of women who missed out on
Hormone
the benefits of
replacement
HRT or menopause replacement therapy, however you want to call it.
Yeah.
And now it's very much in the spotlight again, as it should be. However, there's definitely a legacy and there's definitely a hangover from that period of it causes breast cancer.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
there's a lot of women that I think it's only 4% of women in Australia that are using HRT at the moment.
Well, there's a massive shortage of the patches as well.
Yeah, so it's very hard to get it and it's expensive.
Yeah, that's right. You have to have the money to be able to treat it. And I mean, I have a breast cancer risk in my family, right? So it's all the female line have had breast cancer.
Right.
And I see a specialist because of my family risk, and she actually said to me, HRT has benefits and downsides, and no one knows how it's going to respond to an individual, right? Because we're all different. Every single one of us is different.
Yeah. I've even heard that it can give you protection from breast cancer.
So
I've had that said to me from several specialists.
And she also said to me it's protective for bone health and heart health.
Okay, that is absolutely true. The thing that, I mean, there's so many things that blow my mind when I started researching this, but one of them most definitely is it's high up and sinister because you don't see it, is bone density.
That's right.
You can die from osteoporosis, and I'm like, how? But if you take a fall and break your hip, 70% of women will die in the first year without surgery. Correct. 30% of women will die in the first year with surgery, and a lot of those falls are preventable.
That's right.
They're preventable. I mean, no one's got a crystal ball. You can be in an accident, but if it's because of a fall, they're preventable if you have been training and getting yourself a little fitter, getting yourself a little stronger, getting yourself a little bit more stable, working with a little bit of agility, then you've got a better chance of catching yourself before you take the fall. Or if you have a little bit of muscle, a little bit of strength, and your bones have been strengthened from training, if you happen to take the fall, you're less likely to break.
That's right. That's exactly right. And I mean, I think older women were just sort of considered so invisible that no one discussed this in the mainstream for decades, right? Like, we just knew, oh, you didn't want to fall down and break a hip, but no one knew it killed you.
No,
You
I
know?
definitely don't think that conversation has ever been sort of fleshed out. And when I looked at those statistics, I was like, that is insane. That's totally blowed my mind.
Yeah.
But what happens, or has happened in the past for many women, is you become frail, you lose your independence, and you lose your confidence. But these things can be brought back. I have witnessed women who have been frail and been brought back through strength training to have the capability to still maintain their independence. So it's never too late, but my message to women is to the sooner you get started training with weights, the better.
Yeah.
I've always said that, but now I'm saying it like 100 times harder because of now what I know, what happens to you from around the mid to late 40s and onwards, as far as losing your bone density through the lack of estrogen.
What about if you hate burpees?
Do something else. I don't care. You don't have to go and do pole dancing for all I care. Just get moving and use your body through it in a way that is going to allow you to be stronger. So of course you can use your body weight, but the reality is you need to increase from there. If you really do want to make a difference and you really do want to maintain your independence, you need to increase by using then weights, and you need to challenge yourself.
Okay. So if there's maybe 1, 2 or 3 little exercises you could do while you're brushing your teeth or waiting for the kettle to boil, what would you recommend they are?
Okay, well, look, I mean, I'm going to be real here. Strength training isn't going to happen when you're brushing your teeth.
Damn.
It's just not going to, unless you've still got a set of weights in there.
Damn.
But what you can do, some great neurological strengthening exercises, is brush your teeth with the other hand. Brush your teeth with the other hand and balance on one foot. These are really good for brain plasticity, which is a very important part of perimenopause because estrogen receptors are all throughout your whole body.
Okay.
In your brain, you have an enormous amount of rich estrogen receptors that start losing estrogen as soon as you hit perimenopause. So, the brain is a massive part of this conversation as well.
Oh, that's so
brain
interesting.
fog, anxiety, depression.
Correct.
Losing your words.
Yeah, that one. I rarely.
So
lose my
doing
words.
things for brain plasticity, such as brushing your teeth with the opposite hand and balancing on one foot, is great.
Yeah, no, this...
Doing things different, taking a different route to do the school drop-off, just driving a different way, just making your brain work. Just doing things that are swapping things up a little bit, changing some of your habits and routines. I'm a big believer in habits and routines, but every now and again, just making a swap in things can challenge your brain and enable you to have, better brain plasticity, as they say.
So some research just came out, I think it was published yesterday, from the University of New South Wales Centre for Healthy Brain Ageing, I think it was. They did a massive online coaching intervention over like 5,000 people, and they proved that you can improve your cognition through, and it's all the stuff we've been talking about: strength training, cognition exercises, healthy diet. A plant-based Mediterranean diet is what they were specifically talking about.
Yep. Low processed carbohydrates.
Yeah, so
and
whole foods.
a low carbohydrate diet.
But what about the role of protein for women as well? If you want to get strong, how much more protein do you need to be trying to eat once you're in your 50s?
You need to have protein with every meal.
Wow.
You need to have probably about 20 to 30 grams every meal. So an egg, a couple of eggs at breakfast, a poached chicken salad at lunch, a piece of lean beef or fish with vegetables or salad at night. It's not that hard, but you do need to be very vigilant with your protein. and then your strength training, those two combinations are going to help you with your muscle mass and your bone density. The thing with our body is your musculoskeletal system, that means a fancy way of saying muscles and bones, they work as one unit.
That's right.
So if you've got strong muscles, you've got strong bones.
Okay.
So that's the reason why strength training is so, powerful for women in this age bracket, but also in the younger age bracket. The other thing too is jump training.
Yeah, so
If you can. So if it's skipping or just hopping on one foot or jumping up and down onto a step, that
shock
is helping strengthen your bones as well.
I heard about that. But if you've got joint problems, what
then
do you
you've got to work. Yeah, you've got to work around that.
Yeah.
So if you can't do that, that's fine. Then you're hitting hard with your gym training sessions or your weight training sessions if you're doing them at home. But as I said earlier, you can pick up your 1 or 2 kilogram dumbbells, but in a couple of weeks' time, you're now going to have to pick up your 3 or 4 kilogram dumbbells. And then in a couple of weeks' time, you're going to pick up your 5 and 6 you have to progressively challenge yourself in order to really make that difference.
Yeah, that's hard. Now, are there any good things about menopause that we
Yes.
should embrace? Like what?
There,
Let's talk about them.
it's a great chapter in your life because you are now a woman that knows who you are, knows what you want, knows what you don't want. You don't take any shit anymore. You can
that's
tell
the best
people
one.
to fuck off. I'm sorry.
I think that's the best one. And you don't care in the same way as to what people think of you, or that's been my experience, maybe not everybody's.
Yeah, you just kind of don't take shit anymore, really. And that's
what I
great. The other thing, too, is that this is a time in your life I really see as a crossroads, that you have to become now your own advocate for your health and how you're going to live your next chapter in life. Your kids may have grown up and moved out. You might hopefully have a little bit of, your backup finances, hopefully, and you're able to, put yourself first.
Finally.
I mean, I would rather put my money down on personal training, gym membership, physiotherapy, and having my body functional than leaving my inheritance to my son.
Yeah, well, I'm sure he doesn't want that.
No, independence or inheritance.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really great point. And we've just done a story on Citra about should you ski and spend your kid's inheritance? And of course you should. Why would you leave it behind when you don't know? You could be living well into your 90s, even hundreds today.
If you're taking care of yourself.
That's right. That's exactly
putting
right.
yourself first. So, look, I think it's a really interesting topic. I love women in this age bracket because they've got so much to offer.
Yeah.
Women in this age bracket kicking goals in their careers. So when when perimenopause and menopause, kicks you in the guts, that's a problem for us economically. We're losing women out of the workforce and we're losing women out of education. But I feel like it's a time for the sisterhood to really come together. That's what I'm feeling right now. Like I'm in that era of it's all about my sisters.
Yeah.
And we've got a lot to say. We're a generation that isn't going to lay down quietly, and we're
right.
shouting about this.
No, that's exactly right. Now, tell me about vitamins and supplements.
Okay.
What do you choose to take? Because some really interesting research came out on the ABC this week about vitamin B6 toxicity and how some people are taking way too many different vitamins with too much B6 in them, as an example.
Right. Well, look, hey, I'm going to say straight off the bat, I'm not a doctor and I'm not a scientist.
Yeah, me either.
But I've interviewed many of them. And at this point, for me personally, given the research that I've investigated and the specialists that I've spoken to, is I'm always trying to keep my protein high. So sometimes I will supplement with a protein shake.
Yep.
Sometimes that's just a fast and easy way for me to get it in for breakfast. I take, because of my vitamin D deficiency, I take a vitamin D supplement, which is a spray.
Oh, okay.
And I take that in the morning. I take a multivitamin just as a insurance policy, but I'm pretty good in getting a lot of it out of my food. I take a a probiotic.
Okay.
And I also make sure that I have a little bit of yogurt or a kefir drink in the fridge.
For gut health.
Yeah, for gut health. So that's going to be the next big topic that's going to unlock. And that plays a pretty vital role in menopause as well. So you want to be keeping yourself, looked after in that way. So it's kombucha or kefir or yogurt or sauerkraut. You just throw it into your salad, or I take a probiotic tablet. I utilize creatine.
Oh, okay.
And that's something that I used to use when I was back in my bodybuilding
I was gonna say,
days.
That's a gym supplement, that creatine.
So I'm back in the with my bros at the health food store, getting my powder and my creatine. But has got some great backup research on helping with helping your muscles develop, grow, get stronger. What else do I take? I think that's pretty much it. And they're my supplements, but I'm also have made an educated decision for me personally around HRT as well.
Yeah, okay. So you've embraced HRT?
Yes.
Yeah, I have embraced it, and then I had a weird breast thing go down, and now I'm rethinking, but it's a challenge.
It's not for everyone.
I've used it really successfully for quite a few years, and it's just these are the kind of educated health decisions we now need to make, which I don't think our mums really had to think about that stuff, right? They were just all sent off to the invisibility land of menopause.
No one was no one was prescribing that because of what had happened in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
So yes, it's something that I think is great that women have the options available to them.
Yeah.
But it needs to come from an educated, informed decision. So you do need to be your own advocate. So it can be, this whole conversation around menopause for some women can be very overwhelming because there's a lot of information out there.
A real lot of information. There's a really great website too, the Jean Hales website.
Yes.
It's a fantastic mine of information that's all free and accessible, and you can discuss it with your GP at any time to sort of raise any issues you have. But tell me what it's like to have your first child at 45, no doubt during perimenopause, really, if you think about the age statistics. That's pretty rare, right? And then what's it like to be parenting a primary school kid when you're dealing with menopause? Talk to me about the readers, the canteen duty, the sports coaching, the pickups, the drop-offs.
I'm not unusual. Like, I think every single mother out there is going through perimenopause once their kid, even if they turn into teenagers.
Yeah, well, that's right.
So then the whole household is hormonal.
This is true. Very, very true.
I was saying to my girlfriend, I said, and she's in a same-sex relationship, and I'm like, wow, your children will be teenagers, you and your partner possibly going through menopause. I don't want to be around that house. I'll see you in 10 years.
See, I was so anxious. I think I've always been anxious, catastrophizing, and I had 2 boys, and I swore my children were going to turn into like video game addicts. I could not get them off screens. I would find them in the middle of the night under their covers. And I was so worried. I worked in tech at the time, and I'd say to these guys, what am I going to do with my sons? Or they're just addicted to screens. They're like, wait till they discover girls. So true. So true. Then my son, he's now a power lifter. He has the national record or something.
Oh, wow.
He totally got into strength training in a big way.
Oh, you can lean on him for advice.
No, he doesn't like dealing with his mother. I'm never going to be a powerlifting champion, so he's not interested in that. He's brutal. They're brutal, those powerlifters. And my strength trainer says, oh, you don't want to train in a gym with powerlifters. They just hog the machines for hours.
No judgment to powerlifters that are watching this show right now.
She's like, no. Again, he won't have anything to do with
oh my gosh.
It's hilarious. But yeah, let's talk about motherhood at the age of 45, because we are all having kids later. Like, it's a general trend.
It's interesting. I had a fertility expert that I interviewed only just yesterday, Dr. Jenny Cook.
Oh, yeah.
She works for the Monash fertility clinic, and she sees women day in, day out, looking to get pregnant. And she said to me yesterday, perimenopause and fertility really don't work together.
Yeah, I can't imagine they do.
So I think I was probably very flippant with my fertility. I just thought, I can get knocked up whenever I want, really.
I think a lot of women think that
do.
with the gift of contraception that we've had, for generations now.
So statistically, Australia's birth rates have dropped substantially.
Correct.
And Australia's IVF rates have
Skyrocketed.
increased.
Yep.
There's an obvious link here.
Mm-hmm.
And that is that we are working longer, having a career, and choosing to have our babies later. And that is what's dropping our birth rate, and that is what's having women having to, more
Make
women
decisions.
going to IVF.
Yeah.
So that is an interesting conversation in and of itself.
I totally agree. And I think it's really interesting now when I talk to some women in their 30s who are in the, the throes of the best career years of their lives, and they're talking about paying to freeze their eggs, which I feel like...
Which is what she does, the lady that I was speaking to yesterday.
I can't help but feel that that's just another way to keep women behind the eight ball with their money, as though it's their cost that they have to bear, when really it's a social issue as to whether we have a birth rate that replaces the people that exist, right? And you think, well, if we're not allowing women to procreate in the fertile years of their lives, what does that say about us? I don't know. I can't help but wonder about it. And
I don't think it's
it.
really been a topic of conversation until now.
Yeah,
I think it's
I
very
agree.
much becoming one. And as Dr. Jenny Cook said yesterday, the ideal time to be falling pregnant is with a 3 in your age.
Oh, yeah. Probably even younger from a scientific perspective. We're probably our most fertile in our 20s, but because if you've got a HECS debt and you're trying to move out of home and buy a house in an extortionately expensive property market, it all becomes just a little bit too challenging in your 20s. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of bigger issues at play, which, they might be a bit more Debbie Downer than we like, some of those issues, but I just think we've got to think about it.
It's definitely something that you need to, again, from Dr. Cook, she said you just need to start really considering how you want your life to roll out and how, whether or not you want children, and really plant the seed rather than just being flippant, which was me. I was very, very lucky. I was very, very fortunate. I mean, Dr. Cook again sat there and was gobsmacked when I told her I had my child at 45.
Yeah, that is...
She said, that's actually, Michelle, a miracle. It doesn't happen.
I know.
It doesn't happen.
But you've obviously got good genes.
I think maybe
and you've looked after yourself.
Yeah, there's probably some fortunate aspects around my health and so on. I don't like to go down that rabbit hole because I know a lot of ladies that have looked after themselves through their health and still can't fall pregnant. Yeah. So, there's maybe a genetic thing that was on my side, but it's something that is very worth thinking about, because you don't want to have that opportunity taken from you because you just haven't fully considered it. Yeah.
But you were pretty busy, right? Like in your 20s and 30s, I don't think you ever stopped. I looked at stuff. You started working at 14. I mean, come on, Michelle.
Well, I had to pay my mum my board.
Yeah, good.
At
good
14, she would sit down with her ledger. I can't remember what I was paying her, but I remember every time I did it, I hated it.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But I guess it was good for me because I've always been very independent, fiercely independent, and have always taken care of myself and, worked. I've always worked. I'm a worker.
Yep. But tell me about some of the jobs you've had, because everyone thinks, you've just been this trainer that's done The Biggest Loser, and now you've got your body transformation program, but you've had other work, right? Talk about your early career.
Well, my first job was when I was 14, and I was teaching fitness classes at the local squash centre in Nelson Bay.
Would you even get away with that these days?
No,
do you think?
Could not. I didn't even know what I was doing. The owner-operator who sat behind the desks let me loose on the general public. I mean, you must have been on drugs. You'd never let a 14-year-old away with that now.
I know.
HR. So I was teaching fitness classes, and I was also working in a chemist. Then I started working in Barbara House and Garden.
Oh.
Which was in the same shopping centre in Nelson Bay. So I'd go from one shop to the other.
To the other for your work. Oh,
yeah,
that's so
and
funny.
then I also got a job as a rose girl for the Nelson Bay tourism Association,
by this.
where we would go around with our roses. We had to wear a red T-shirt, white shorts, and white little heel.
Oh, so it was a little bit Gold Coast media girl.
Yeah, it was a bit Gold Coast.
A little bit sexy.
And we'd hand out a rose to people that were just there on a weekend holiday. I got $20 an hour. Now, that was early 80s.
Yeah, that was good
money.
That's
good money.
That was good money. I remember
I was doing all right.
Years. Yeah, but you were a bank teller for a while.
Yes, I worked for the Greater Newcastle
credit union?
Credit union.
Building society?
Building society, that's it.
Yeah, they don't even have building societies
anymore.
anymore.
And that was a job that I did for a couple of years. But I was always still teaching classes at night.
So was that your passion? Like, is that what set you on fire?
Yeah.
Okay.
I loved it.
Yeah.
The music, the outfits. Like back in the day, we went to the gym like dressed with the leotard on the outside.
I
of the
remember
tights,
with the G-string. I remember the
belt,
G-string.
leg warmers, headbands, like the whole shebang.
What were your trainers? Were they Reebok?
Oh, Reebok high top pump ups.
And did you do step aerobics too?
Yes.
I love
And
step.
I would make my own cassettes.
Oh my gosh, mixtapes. Michelle's mixtapes. What was your motivational go-to song in the 80s?
Oh my God, I can't remember.
Oh, I used to love
remember.
Run DMC, and there were so many of them. Paula Abdul.
I think Noiseworks was up there.
Oh yeah, Noiseworks. Oh, he was from Newcastle too. I think.
Yeah.
He would be,
so sure. Yeah, that was. I was always working.
And you came to Sydney, I believe, in your sports girl Barina.
Yes, second-hand Holden sports girl Barina. I had $300 in the bank. I had someone's lounge room floor to sleep on for a few nights and no job. But I was coming for a fitness conference, and I knew what I was good at, and I just had all the confidence in the world that I could pull it off.
And you did.
Yeah, I remember driving across the bridge with all of my worldly possessions in my sports girl Barina, and driving to a gym where, this is a strange story, where I was meeting up with this guy that I'd met at the fitness conference. I'd met him and his girlfriend, and they were the ones with the lounge room floor.
Lucky.
And this guy just happened to be Shannon Ponton, who was the other trainer on Loser.
Oh, wow. Is that how the connections all began, though?
We met each other when I was like 26. And I think he was maybe 23.
Oh my gosh.
And we lived together. We flatted together. This is years before the show.
Wow.
So when we went for the show auditions, they saw the chemistry because we knew each other.
Oh, well, there you go. You'd brushed your teeth in the opposite hand with each other, maybe, as you crossed hallways in the house.
Yeah.
And what other classes did you used to teach in the 80s? Because I remember step was really big. But
so step, new body.
Oh, new body.
And
what did they
high impact.
That's right. and what was the other? There was TTB for tummy, thighs,
tummies,
buttocks.
butts and thighs.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. And then around about 24, I discovered Les Mills.
You became a qualified trainer.
I became a master trainer for them.
Master trainer. Look at you.
They sent me all over the country, and then they sent me, to many different countries around the world. I became a master trainer in body pump, body attack, body combat, and RPM, which is the spin version.
Oh my gosh. Now, spin classes. I've got friends who just love a spin class. Now, I just don't understand why you want to be on a bike in a class. Talk me through why people do this. What is it?
Oh, it's fun. It's fun. It's not for everybody, but it's the music, it's the vibe, it's the cardio. It's the cardio with minimal impact, which is
so good for your joints.
For me, I love running. I had a hip issue that just wouldn't quit, and in fact, once I started taking HRT, that's almost all but gone.
Oh wow. Okay.
Which is interesting.
I found the joint pains a bit of an issue with menopause myself.
Yeah, but that's normal. Although, like I said, if you're actually doing the training and you're doing the work, you can minimise that.
Yeah, but injury it becomes a bigger nag as you get older, doesn't it? It has been in my experience, mainly because I never really did a lot beyond an aerobics class when I was younger. I'm not really like you, but. The injury, like my knee gets jiggy, my back hurts, like all those things that never used to happen. Is strength the key to minimising that?
Yes.
I knew you'd say that.
100% it is. it's going to strengthen joints. It's going to strengthen the muscles that protect those joints. It's going to strengthen your bones. You just kind of need to keep moving. And one of the big symptoms also of in a musculoskeletal version is frozen shoulder.
Oh yeah, I saw some alarming posters about that in my physio's office. I was like, oh my God, and torn rotator cuff.
Yeah,
and
so these things can take a long time to recover from. And as a trainer for as long as I've been, I see a lot of people over the years who have injured themselves and they just kind of give up.
Yeah.
And that's sad because it's not going to get any better.
Yeah, that's right. You've got to keep working at it.
Yeah.
And so someone once said to me, if you want to be happy for a year, get married. But if you want to be happy for life, get a dog. What's your stance on that?
I would absolutely agree with that.
Now, how many times have you been married?
Oh, God.
I've been married twice. But my second one's lasted, which was better than my first one.
Yeah, I've been married twice too, but I've also had a couple of other relationships around that.
I think we all have. Right?
Yeah.
So now it's you and Axel in the house, right? Mm-hmm. He's the man in your life?
100%.
Now, tell me what Axel won't eat, because kids are notoriously picky.
He won't eat mushrooms.
Oh, yeah, my kids have a thing with mushrooms. I love mushrooms. What's wrong with a mushroom?
I don't know. I don't know where that's come from, but he'll actually eat everything.
Oh, really?
He eats anchovies out of a jar.
Oh, my gosh.
He sat down the other night, which I was blown away, because I gave it to the dog. I gave my dog some mackerel.
It's very good for him with omega-3s.
So good for omega-3s.
Oh, is your dog a girl or a boy?
A boy. So I've got two men in my
boys,
life.
yeah.
And then my best friend is a boy too. So I've got three men in my life. But yeah, I think it's because I gave it to Banjo that he was like, I want to try that. I said, sure. And he goes, can I have that for dinner? I'm like, absolutely.
Easiest meal ever.
He had mackerel and vegetables. And I texted my best friend Sean and said, this is what he's having for dinner. He goes, that kid is unbelievable.
See, my eldest, he was on the white diet. He would only eat things that were white for a good 5 years of his life. It was insane. And to this day, he won't eat tomato. He won't eat mushroom. Like, so picky.
Yeah.
So picky.
I don't know. I don't know whether it's the individual or whether it's just in them. But I've always given Axel everything. Like I used to give him olives and just big flavors and all the fruit, all the veg. And so he just does it. Like he doesn't really second guess it. I used to have this thing. I still do it. Screen time is green time. So if he wants
me through this.
Well, in the afternoons, I mean, he's not allowed to have screens during the week. That's a ruling that we have. But when he does have them, and I set an alarm.
Oh, you're good.
So screen time is green time. So I will give him a bowl of spinach straight out of the packet, chopped cucumbers, some avocado, maybe a bowl of peas.
Oh, wow.
And so if he eats that, he can have his screen. And then I think if we go out for dinner, like if I get invited with my friends to go out for a meal, and he ends up ordering, something like
schnitzel,
whatever, then I don't care because he's already had those greens in the afternoon.
Okay.
So that's something that we do after school.
Okay, because greens are your favourite food, right?
Man, you got to have them. You got to have them. If you want good, nice poo-poo, you need your fibre.
Greens are good for that. Okay, now let's talk about dog parenting habits, right? Because I only got a dog in my 50s. I hadn't had one since I was a kid, and I am obsessed with my dog. Like, obsessed in a way. I was probably never really obsessed with my children in the way I'm obsessed with my dog.
Really?
Yeah, it's totally bizarre. I don't know if it's because of empty nest or quite what it might be.
Yeah.
But we all have these either slightly crazy dog or slightly crazy dog parenting habits. What's your crazy dog habit and your crazy dog parenting habit?
Well, I have a neurotic cavoodle. So
They're beautiful.
He is crazy. He's very needy. He follows me around. I think he has mild anxiety. I've never had a cavoodle before. I've only ever, my dogs of the past have been, like a cattle kelpie was my last one. And they're chill.
Yeah.
As long as you run them.
Yeah, that's right.
Whereas Banjo's like, love me.
Does he sleep on your bed?
Yeah, he does.
I
I can't even.
I
But he knows it's the bottom right-hand corner.
That's
You've
got boundaries.
I have boundaries.
Now, does Banjo ever get snacks from the dinner table?
He's not supposed to, but my son does it.
Does he give him peas? What does he feed him?
And he gives him this morning he was giving him his toast for breakfast. I said, stop doing that, but it's too late, the habit. So now he's sniffing around the table.
That's right. And this is the thing, we all have dog parenting habits. Well, I think we're better at parenting kids than we are probably our dogs. Secretly. Maybe that's just me. I'm judging everyone by my own bad standards. That's probably what I'm doing. Now, primary school parenting. Concerts, readers, parent-teacher nights. How do you navigate primary school parenting? I do remember this phase of my life.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It is.
It's a lot. It's a job.
It totally is a job.
When I look at that school box that we have online, and everything's online. I sound like my mother now. It's so complicated and there's so many things going on. It's a lot. It's a full-time job, seriously.
It really is.
But, it's tricky navigating it as a single parent.
Yeah, that's
because
right.
Even parent-teacher night, like you're not supposed to bring, or sometimes you bring them with you, but sometimes you don't.
Who
so then
looks after your kid?
who's going to take care of Axe while I do that? So I've got no family in Sydney, but I've got my best friend.
Oh, lucky.
I don't want to lean on that too much, like you don't want to wear out your welcome.
That's right.
I know I never will. He's Axel's godfather and they're very, very close.
That's sweet.
But it's like babysitting to get these kinds of things done. And then there's the driving to and from sporting events and so on.
And I was going to ask what sports he plays, because that's like the biggest challenge. It's how many sports practices. You're just endlessly in the car. You've only got one, thank goodness.
Yeah, thank goodness I've only got one.
What does he play? What does he enjoy?
So at his school in the we have a winter and summer sport. So we have compulsory Saturday morning sport. So that's where sport is for this inside the school for us. So winter is soccer for him.
Okay.
And summer is tennis.
Now, do you have to do any coaching? Do the parents always come on, Michelle, we need you to do this?
No, not at my school.
So lucky.
Not at my school now, but when we were living in the Southern Highlands, I was the rugby coach for the under sixes, I think it was.
Oh, really?
Oh, my God.
Never again?
Never again.
Yeah, never again. Because now they've got all these institutes to help parents behave well at kids' sport, because the parents are so pushy about how their kids are on the field, and they treat it like it's a pro game or whatever.
Now I enjoyed it for the season, but I was happy to hand it over to another parent for the next season.
And does Axel do lunch orders at school?
Every now and again.
And what does he choose? What's his choice of lunch order?
Sushi.
Oh, wow. Yeah, my kids love sushi. What did you get lunch orders when you were a kid?
When I was a kid, yeah.
What was your choice of lunch
hot
order?
dog. A hot dog.
I bet you'd never eat that
or
now.
a pie.
A pie. What about those finger buns? Remember the finger buns?
I loved all of that stuff as a kid, but it just wasn't big in my household. So these were very much considered treats.
Yeah, because junk food was more expensive in the 70s and 80s than it is now. Now it's cheaper. It's got economies of scale, right? So it's cheaper to eat processed food than real food in many cases. But I think when we were younger, that wasn't
the case.
Really the case.
No.
And what is your quickest and easy go-to dinner when, like, you get home late, you've got a child that you've got to do homework with? Mm-hmm. What do you pull together?
Yeah. So I've always got spaghetti bolognese in the freezer.
Of course.
So I'll do a big batch. I do a lot of batch cooking, particularly in winter.
Yeah, okay.
And then I've got everything in the freezer good to go. So I can always pull out a meal and have it together like that. But if I don't have something in the freezer, which is rare, but if I didn't, my next go-to would be an omelette.
Oh, okay. And your own mum was a single mum, working single mum.
Yeah.
What did she used to cook as her go-to meal?
We had very simple meals back then. We would have chops and veg.
Yeah.
Or fish and salad. It was very simple. If sometimes we got like a real treat where we'd have pancakes for dinner.
Oh my gosh.
It was like super treat.
We never got pancakes for dinner. I'm very jealous.
But it only happened every now and again.
So, and my mum
most of the time it was lots of veg, lots of salad. My mum was a real clean eater.
Oh, that's good. That's good. But she raised you and your sister on her own, right?
Mm-hmm.
It would have been tough in the 70s. That wage gap was very different in the 70s than what it is now, where we know women still don't earn as much as men. But back then, women really didn't earn very much at all.
She was told by her boss that if the kids get in the way, she'll lose her job.
Oh my God!
I guess you could do that in the 70s.
Well, you could. Yeah, you could hire a 14-year-old in the 80s. You could tell women that.
When I was sick, she'd make a sandwich. She put it on my bedside table. We had a little tiny TV that was on a stand, so she'd wheel that into my bedroom, and she'd say, "Don't answer the phone, don't answer the door," and she'd have to go to work, and I'd be at home by myself until she got home at like 5:30 at night.
Oh my gosh!
I would be beside myself. But what could she do?
I know, it was such a different world. It was just, I remember because
we didn't have the money to afford for a babysitter.
No, exactly. That's exactly right. It was just so different. My mum we used to go to this childcare place that was just a church hall, and it was teeming with children. There were no ratios of carers to kids. It was just like a zoo, because that was the only place you could even find to sort of put kids until work finished at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
And they'd pick us up in a van, and we'd all be tumbling around in the boot, like crammed in like sardines. No seatbelts.
No seatbelts. I know, right? It's different era. It was a different
totally
era.
different. And are you close to your mum still?
Yeah.
And
we don't live in the same area. We do live like 4.5 hours away from each other, which is
that's
a bit of a shame.
Yeah. Is she close to your sister geographically?
No. So we're all kind of
too.
spread.
Yeah. Because I guess this is the other thing of our generation, is that we have kids later, but our parents are living longer, and we sort of have to look after more people for longer than perhaps previous generations had to. Have you thought about how you might navigate that?
Look, I mean, I have. It's just been, I guess, the way in which our family has been. We all just spread.
Yeah, no, I get it.
But then I've got other people in my extended family, my cousins, who all stayed in the same suburb.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I look at that and think, that was actually really clever. Because they all help each other.
That's right. That's exactly right.
I mean, it doesn't always work out that way. You get a job, your career, you've got to move. But I see the absolute benefits of staying in the same neighborhood as your family, like if you can.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it's going to become more challenging because there's...
Well, it takes a village.
Mm-hmm, that's exactly right. And as more of us get older, there's no massive increase in... Not that anyone even wants to go into a nursing home, but there's not a massive increase in places. You need to age at home now. And, you know, we all need help to do that. Now, I guess moving on, I want to talk about what retirement might ever mean for motivational Michelle. What does that word evoke for you? Retirement.
I don't even think that I will.
Yeah.
Like, I think I'll always do something.
Yeah.
I think I'll always have a passion. Don't get me wrong, I've most definitely slowed down from when I was in my 30s and 40s.
Yeah.
You know, like I used to have, my diary was so jammed that I actually had to put in bathroom breaks. And I mean, it was just insane.
Yeah,
it was really, really crazy.
I think,
and we got a lot of work done. I achieved a lot, but it was with a team, of course. But those days are gone.
Okay.
And I would probably say I'm semi-retired now.
Oh, okay.
Like I sort of did my life back to front. I had this massive career and great and personally success. I felt like I really accomplished a lot. And then I had my son at 45. But what that means, yes, I'm an older mum, but I keep myself in really good shape and I'm pretty active.
Yeah.
But what it means is I can do everything that my mum couldn't do. So I drive him to school. I pick him up from school. I'm at the athletics carnival. I'm at the swimming carnival. I'm at the cross-country carnival. I do all of that because I never had a parent that could be at any of those events for me my whole life.
Do you do book week costumes?
Yep, I do all of it.
What were the book week costumes?
We did, this recent one was Winnie the Pooh. He dressed as Winnie the Pooh.
Very cute.
Old school.
That's really cute though. Now, let's talk about money and superannuation and what that means. So you've had this big career. And were you contracting, or did you have an employer that put in super for you? What does superannuation mean in the world of Michelle Bridges?
Superannuation, when I was teaching fitness classes and being a PT, was just a mess.
Yeah, that's what I would have thought, because you were contracting, right?
Yeah. So I had super here, there, and over there, and somewhere else, and I don't even know. And then...
It's hardcore, right?
Yeah. And then I sort of built my business as such, and I got a little bit more serious about my super.
Okay.
But... over the last couple of years, I just, I'd put in, what I do is I put in a chunk of money every year.
Okay.
As much as I can now.
Yeah.
There's a limit.
That's right, 27,500.
Yeah, something like that. So I just put that in. And then I have a financial advisor.
Yep.
And he said to me, have you thought about
Managed super fund?
Self-managed super fund? And I was like, well, no. It's not my skill set. But that's what we've done.
Oh, okay.
So he's now
have done
managing. He's managing some money that I have in shares, and he's also managing my self-funded superannuation.
That's interesting.
Because that's going to come around pretty quick.
Yeah.
And that money's going to be real handy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Indeed. And what's the one thing you wish you'd learned about money sooner when you're handing over your rent to your mum at 14? What do you wish you'd learned about money back then that you now know?
Well, what I have learned is that there's been a money conversation in my family, and it's not always been positive.
Yeah.
But it always turns up.
Okay.
So, and I pick it up in myself. I'll say, oh, that was expensive, or, how about the cost of this, and da-da-da. I think, oh, that's my mum talking, but so it's good in some regards, but then in other ways, I don't think it's always great. But I'm a saver.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm cautious with my money. I'll splash out every now and again, but I'm definitely not, I don't just let it go.
Yep. Oh,
I do believe it comes and goes. Like, if there's a flow, I always feel like I can make it.
Yeah,
I can make it back.
Yeah.
And I've always said, I'm going to buy a house. What's the worst that can happen? I have to sell it.
Yeah.
So be it. I will take risks, but I feel like they're informed and educated,
calculated risks. And if you could go back and whisper something into the ear of that girl in the sports girl Barina, what would you have told yourself as you were driving with all your possessions in the back? What would you say to that girl?
You go.
Oh.
You go. Do exactly what you've got planned for yourself. Get into it.
And what about regrets? Do you have any?
Of course.
Oh, I know. They plague you when you're sleepless in
Of course
menopausal.
I have regrets. And I can't stand the whole, oh, no, I've got no regrets. Like,
Yeah.
really? Have you lived a life? Have you been a human being? Because we all make mistakes.
Yeah, we really do. And that's how you learn, right? And it also gives you the inspiration to keep transitioning to wherever you're going to go next.
Yeah.
Because I think when I was young, I really thought, I didn't think I'd even be in my 50s. I thought that was just so old. Like, it was so out of my head. Like, my
Yeah.
grandmother was 48 when I was born. So I thought that was really, really old. And then all of a sudden you just wake up.
But it was. I mean, I do a keynote, and at the end of my keynote, I thank my grandmother, and I have a photograph of her in the keynote on screen, and it's at her 50th birthday party,
wow.
and I'm on her hip as a little toddler, and she's having her 50th birthday, and she's got her hair set.
Yep.
She's got a twin set on.
Yep.
Pearls and a brooch.
Yep. They loved brooches back
that was
then, didn't
50
they?
back then. Like, I'm 54.
Where's your brooch,
Where's
Michelle?
my brooch and my twin set? It's just crazy. So it was a different era.
Yeah, it really was a different era. And how old was your mum when she had you?
24.
Oh, they were so young then.
Very
weren't they?
young.
I know.
She had my sister at 19
Wow.
and me at 24.
But not bad really when you think about it, because sure, she didn't have the financial stability, but she gets to enjoy you all. She's got grandkids now.
Yeah, it's just you only know what you know.
That's exactly right. And it's your circumstance.
I was talking, I did an interview recently with Pip Edwards.
Oh, yeah.
And we were talking about perimenopause and fertility and kids, and she had her son at 25.
Yeah.
So he's now just finished high school.
Yep.
And she's
So
only
liberating.
40 something.
Yeah, exactly.
So what a great thing that is.
Exactly.
And I've done it completely different, but it'll be all I know.
And it's all swings and roundabouts.
Yeah.
Because we've all got one lifetime. That's all any of us get. None of us know how long it's going to last.
Yeah, but I feel like the way in which I've done it is the way in which I've done it. I can't go back and change it. But I do get, thankfully, I have the financial freedom and independence that I can give my son a lot of time.
Yeah, that is a real blessing. Now, we're going to begin to wrap up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 2 choices, and then you're just going to instinctively say the one that comes to mind. So I'm going to say cavoodles or kelpies.
Banjo, block your ears. Kelpies.
Brutal dog mum. Okay, country or city?
City.
Strong or flexible?
Strong.
Champagne or cocktails?
Can I say mocktails?
You can say whatever you want. Ice cream or chocolate?
Chocolate.
Oh. Sunrise or sunset?
I think this is going to be a sunrise.
Okay. Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Instagram or Facebook?
Instagram.
Spend or save?
Save.
More time or more money?
More time.
Muscles or mindfulness?
Oh. Look, I want that's a tough one.
It is a tough one.
I'm going to say muscles because I just know that helps with my brain anyway.
Okay. Heels or flats?
Flats. I wore killer heels in my 20s and 30s, and I look at them all in my cupboard and I think, pain is all I see.
I know, my back, right?
My feet.
What was I thinking? Now I only wear flats. Okay, old or young?
Old or young?
Yeah, what's better?
Oh, what's better?
Yeah, which would you choose?
Oh, look, they're both great. Come on.
I know.
Being young, but, like I look back on it, I would have, if I look back on what I was like, why wasn't I just wearing a bikini when I did shopping? Like...
Well, you can still wear one now.
No, like you just go, why did I have so many hang-ups about, and you do have hang-ups about, how you look or how you present or, even my son this morning was really upset about the fact that he's got swimming trials today for the school carnival, which is next week. Because
you'll be going to.
Well, he's like, I can't because I might not win. And I said, babe. And everybody will look at me and they'll all, I'll be embarrassed. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, I know. It's so...
If only I could give you my head now that nobody cares.
Yeah, I know.
They're all too busy worrying about themselves.
I know that's the thing, but you can't put an old head on young shoulders. Like, it's the sayings and cliches are there for a reason, right?
Yeah, but and the old is that you realise that now.
I know.
It's just these things just don't matter.
No, they really don't matter. Okay, and then my last one is skiing or snowboarding.
Unfortunately, I'm having to retire from both.
Oh, such a shame. I definitely do hope your knee gets better, and I hope it's not.
It will get better, but it's just going to be a process. And these are the kinds of things I was talking about with people with injuries will often just wave the white flag.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at it like, okay, this is an opportunity for me. I'm going to go and start doing different types of training to what I've been doing in the lead up to this. So I'm heading back to the gym. Like I used to do a lot of body pump classes, body attack classes, spin classes. Now I'm going to go and be very specific in the gym and lots of upper body work and get the rehabilitation. I'm going to be like spot on with my rehabilitation. And
it's motivational Michelle for you.
Yeah, there is no other way.
Well, it's been a pleasure to talk with you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Really enjoyed it. So,
thanks for having me.
Thank you.
The Midlife Shift is hosted by Alex Brooks and produced by Bron Mandil. Music by Shinto, production by Wisecast Studios, published by Citro in Sydney, Australia.